Now, from Louisiana's news channel, this is 9 News at 5.
Tonight at 5, flooding that brought back a flood of memories for so many of you, and this storm proved deadly.
Tornado.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Trees are gone. They've been uprooted or tore up.
I was doing some praying. I was doing some heavy praying.
Our weather team is tracking what's left and next.
Our 9 News team is spread out for you tonight, covering every angle to keep you safe. And we are going to start with our weather team in a much different picture.
Absolutely, meteorologist Dr. Steve Caprata, where do we stand?
Hey guys, let's sound the all clear for the short term right now. That is the good news. First alert Doppler radar is all quiet locally. This morning's rains have moved well off to the east and actually not nearly as bad as what we experienced earlier on the day. Let's give you a look at future radar now through the remainder of the evening. I'm not going to rule out a stray shower over the next couple of hours, but the vast majority of us should stay dry. This is 9 o'clock and we head towards midnight. We're still looking mainly dry with an isolated shower or two, but look at this. At least one of our models has some storms that are expected to develop up to our northwest, dropping quickly down to the south and east, indicating the potential for another round of storms by tomorrow morning. This is not a sure thing at this point, but it's one of several viable scenarios. Be prepared for the potential of another stormy morning commute. I don't think a repeat. I'm not thinking that, but some locally heavy rain certainly could be in the mix. We're going to talk more about that, how much more rain to expect into the weekend, and what the weekend itself looks like coming up in just a few. Greg.
Thank you, Steve. Live right now to our Titan 9. It's been tracking the storm all throughout this day. This is Brillick Street, a live shot as we speak, right near Central, where we believe a possible tornado may have touched down.
In fact, this is where an entire family took a direct hit. A man, his wife, and kids, including a 3-week-old. Our Carmen Bowe has just spoken with that family. She kicks off our team coverage here at 5.
Yeah, Liz, as you said, I just spoke with the homeowner here. That's Matt Johnson. When I tell you this story is about resilience, it is about strength. So let me show you why. Johnson says he and his family were right in this portion of the house when all of a sudden they heard a crack. They heard a boom. That was the noise. That was the sound of this big oak tree right here falling onto their home. The roof is now on the ground. Johnson says he and his 3-year-old girl were trapped under this tree. Look at this huge tree here. He says they sat there for about 10 minutes before they were able to crawl out from all of this rubble. Now, his other kids, his wife, they were able to get out with a few bumps and bruises. But this is the crazy part about this. I don't know if you can see, but this is a little girl's room right over here. That's where his family sleeps. He says he thought about putting them down for a nap right before the storm came, but thankfully he didn't. Thankfully he changed his mind, and now they live to tell the story.
I mean, all morning we've been I just left the emergency room, and all morning I've just been thinking about what ifs. Like, what if we would have let them sleep in? What if she would have been 3 feet away from me? What if, if she'd have been 2 feet this way, 2 feet that way? I mean, you know, she could easily been dead. I could have been dead.
Thank goodness everybody from this house is, they went to emergency room. They have a few bumps, scars, bruises. Johnson has a few stitches, but everybody is doing okay. They're figuring out where they're going to stay for the night. And I know in our neighboring parishes, we've got some people dealing with the same issue. So I'm going to send it back to you, Liz, with more on that.
Carmen, thank you, ma'am. We just have chills listening to you describe that story. Well, take a look at this. This is new drone video out of Galvez area where a possible tornado went through, and you can see just trees, roofs ripped off and trees down. Our Austin Kempker continues our live team coverage now where the cleanup is already underway.
Yeah, guys, cleanup is going. They've got these big limbs laying across this guy's yard here. That storm that went through here, it sent these limbs crashing down on top of this man's house right behind me. Now, Ascension Sheriff Bobby Weber says they started getting reports of a tornado ripping through the Galvez area around 9:30 this morning. The storms knocked out power to this area and left power lines laying across the ground. Despite the damage, Sheriff Weber says no one was hurt seriously. No one seriously hurt.
no serious injuries and no life-threatening injuries. I would say in most of the residential areas that we had no injuries at all, just a lot of property damage.
Yeah, and for sure, lots of property damage. We're on Chris Street. This homeowner right here, like I said earlier, multiple trees crashing down on his home, which ultimately destroyed it. Now, the homeowners were actually home at the time. They were able to take shelter in a center bathroom, which they say likely saved them from any serious harm. Tonight at 6, we'll talk to the homeowners on why they think a higher power was definitely had a helping hand in keeping them safe. Guys.
All right, thank you very much, Austin Kempker out there. Austin actually woke up to a flooded car like many of you today. Let's check in on our neighbors in Livingston Parish. Now, of course, they're still dealing with a lot of the effects from the 2016 flood. Today, it was a lot of high wind and some high water. Our Grant Malkins updates us on those folks.
It did not take long for the folks of Livingston Parish to spring into action, clearing hundreds of trees and branches off of roads and houses.
We're just trying to get to the worst houses first, put tarps on everything, and then just try to help each other out best we can after that.
This area near South Satsuma Road and Coyel appeared to take a direct hit. Jamie Watts rushed home to find his family shaken up.
My wife said it was the scariest thing she's ever witnessed in her entire life.
The powerful wind blew open his front door and damaged several of his neighbors' homes. This big tree flipped this small trailer into the air. About 15 miles away, another cluster of downed trees suggests another powerful storm cell moved through this area.
Now you can see kind of the path of this suspected tornado here in Killian, knocking down all of these trees, shearing off the tops of them, but amazingly, with all of these trees surrounding this house, not a single one touched it.
I just prayed and the good Lord answered, and most of the material come off through here. It tore out our power lines. We'll be out of lights for a while.
But Brian Smith says being in the dark is a small price to pay, considering what could have happened here. He watched most of the storm from his back porch.
When I seen that the wind was blowing in a different direction than it was in the front of the house, I realized that the tornado was on us.
Tonight, he's grateful that trees were the only casualties. In Livingston Parish, Graham Olkins, WAFB 9 News.
Graham, thank you. Unfortunately, others were not so lucky. We now know the name of the man who died in Baton Rouge because of this storm system. The coroner's office tells us William Jackson accidentally drowned after floodwaters trapped his car this morning near Chippewa and I-110. Baton Rouge Fire Department tells us first responders pulled him from the car and got him to paramedics. However, they were unable to save him. His is the only death reported so far. Now, we do know those usual trouble spots for flash flooding, but we've never seen anything like this. This is actually Government Street, not too far from our station. This is actually right off of Government Street. You can see people there, knee-high water. Sidewalks, everything underwater. Donovan Jackson is live at Acadian, where that roadway remains closed tonight due to water. Donovan.
Hey Liz, yes, I am standing I'm live here on Acadian Thruway, right across from Mestizos. It's a local fan favorite for many of us. Unfortunately, it was one of those places that got affected by that flash flood this morning, and I don't think it's something any of us thought we'd wake up to, and it's definitely something none of us will ever get used to anytime soon. The metro region received about 3.5 inches of rainfall this morning, bringing severe flash floods that caused road closures all over the parish. Dozens of cars and drivers were left stranded, some even on the interstate. State officials held a press conference this morning. The mayor says they are preparing as more rains come in tomorrow.
Another 1 inch of rainfall with local higher amounts of 2 to 3 inches possible, but we are not expected to see severe thunderstorms. We are closely monitoring the situation, and we will update the public regularly through the duration of this weather event.
Now, officials say the drainage systems are functioning properly, although they were overwhelmed today. Now, although the rain has subsided for now, there are still some problem areas that are closed off, like the notorious Acadian overpass right behind me. That area is closed off. So we're urging people, please, if you see barricades that are still up, or even if you see areas that are still having high water and you're not sure, please turn around. Your life is not worth risking your life. Live on Acadian Thruway in the capital city, I'm Donovan Jackson with WAFB 9 News. Liz?
Donovan, thank you. And wait until you see this. We have drone footage giving you a really close look at the always troublesome troublesome Acadian Thruway underpass near where Donovan is. But here's a view we have not seen before of just how deep it gets. The fire department telling us they did successfully rescue a motorist who was stranded in this high water. That car almost completely submerged. Man, that is just, if you drive that area, you're familiar with it, that is just incredible to see.
Very, very incredible. All right, let's take a look now at Walker. Some firefighters, some first responders went out in a high water rescue vehicle off of Walker North Road just to check on people, and look, they ended up rescuing folks, some precious little children right there. They eventually had to convince some of the folks to kind of take higher ground, worried that the water might get too high. They didn't have a vehicle to leave in, so they had to get a little bit of help there. That's after they convinced them to leave that water, that flash flooding that we oftentimes used to ignore. Those little warnings now is something that people pay very close attention to, and those three precious babies got to higher ground and didn't even have to get wet.
It was low and then it got really high, and so we had to leave so that way we wouldn't be flooded in the house.
You know where you're going?
We're going with my mama or to his mother's house.
Family helping family there. The first responders who put their lives on the line to rescue them. Well, one of the firefighters walked through the water to make sure the driver was able to tell the road from the ditches. Look at that. That's scary enough. Well, just before this newscast, we learned an emergency shelter has been set up tonight at the Live Oak Junior High in Denham Springs. So emergency shelter if you need help. Live Oak Junior High right there on Old LA Highway 16.
We also have some new details about that really scary moment for workers at the ExxonMobil pipeline in Sorrento. The Ascension Parish Sheriff tells us that a tornado there picked up a trailer on site, tossing it. The sheriff says 5 people were actually inside and they were hurt and taken to the hospital to be checked out. But the sheriff says at last check, those workers had minor injuries.
We just feel very fortunate at this point that with how many people we have work here that we didn't have worse injuries than what we had, or life-altering or even death, and so that's still at the front of our minds.
Now, I spoke with the pipeline supervisor this afternoon. He says that their focus now is making sure that there's no major damage on the site. We're told the facility never stopped operating, and so far, everything remains in good shape.
All right, a lot of roads still impacted by this water. Let's check in with Steve now and look at this traffic. Steve.
Yeah, things are getting better. Here's one I-110 at the Governor's Mansion curve. This was closed southbound most of the day. About an hour ago, they partially opened the right lane and the shoulder. Still have standing water in the left lane, but this looks a lot better than it did earlier today. We've got an accident on the bridge. We can't really see it from our cameras, but coming into Baton Rouge up near the top of the bridge, both the left and right lanes are blocked. That is causing delays, and it looks like maybe some rubbernecking delays headed into West Baton Rouge. But just look at the heavy delays now building coming in past Lobdell as we look at that. Otherwise, not terrible around the city. The Acadian Underpass, last check, that's still flooded. Burbank near Nicholson, still some water. And we got a report of Scenic between 68th and 73rd, still reporting some water. Those are the closures we know of in Baton Rouge right now. We'll check back in coming up in a few, Liz.
All right, thank you so much, Steve. Much more storm damage coverage to come, including what was left behind when the radar confirmed this tornado tearing across a road in Compton.
You know, before we head to break, take a look at just some of the video you shared with us today. This is one of those LSU Tiger Transit things. That is unbelievable there. The water quickly overtaking the floor of that bus. We'll be back. So depending on where you live, the storm dumped anywhere from 4 to maybe even 6 inches of rain in just 3 hours, and that inundated the roadways, stranded dozens of you.
Our Spencer Switcher continues ARC Teen coverage.
This is Baywell Street, as you can see. We're trying to turn the camera around here. This is our roof camera.
WAFB's Titan 9 storm tracker capturing the flooding across Baton Rouge.
I mean, that person is barely making it, but we've got a lot of people, oh wow, to our left just turning around before even trying to get through this area.
Both our news crews and you, the viewers, added to a huge collection of video. This amazingly is Jefferson Highway in Baton Rouge. That and places like Government Street that rarely see flooding like this saw it on Thursday morning. All around LSU, from Alvin Dark to Nicholson Drive, underwater.
Getting onto the interstate now.
And parts of our interstate system soon became parking lots. Vehicles stranded here along I-110 near the Governor's Mansion, many of them flooded out. Also flooded out, the driver of this 18-wheeler on Blue Bonnet near the mall. Even cars already parked were in danger. This is the parking garage at Baton Rouge City Hall. And this is the parking lot at Baton Rouge General Blue Bonnet. Incredible images of a chaotic morning in Metro Baton Rouge. Spencer Soicher, WAFB 9 News.
All right, Spencer, thank you very much for that. And a live look at Acadian right now as Steve continues to, well, not a live look, but Steve continues to monitor your traffic for you, Steve.
Yeah, last check, the Acadian underpass still closed. Here's drive times right now. Heaviest delays coming in from West Baton Rouge due to an accident on the bridge. These may get worse, but a half hour from Lobdell to the 1012 right now. As we look at westbound drive times, we're doing okay. Some minor delays from the 1012 headed to downtown. Still some more storms to get through as we head into Friday. We'll talk about rain potential and your weekend forecast next. But first, here's a look at the mosquito forecast.
From the First Alert Weather Center, meteorologist Dr. Steve Caparato with your First Alert forecast.
Let's start you out with the good news right now, and that's that First Alert Doppler radar is all quiet locally at the moment. Rains have moved well off to our east and through the remainder of the evening. Just a slim chance of a shower. No more heavy rain, though, expected over the next several hours. Now, let's give you a little bit of bad news, potentially, as we get into Friday. There's two features to watch, kind of out to our west and northwest. Up here in Oklahoma, some storms organizing this afternoon. Also into Texas now, different models at different times have indicated one of these two features may head our way overnight and produce some storms in the morning. This particular model likes the storms up in Oklahoma, so watch this evolve with time. From now, we'll go to midnight. It has the storms moving into northwest Louisiana around Shreveport. We're largely still mainly dry locally, and then it brings a pretty healthy squall line into the area around daybreak tomorrow at 6 a.m. So I'm telling you, it could be a rocky commute again tomorrow. It's not a guarantee, but it's a real potential that we've got some storms around again tomorrow morning. It takes those down to the southeast. This is lunchtime tomorrow, and then by late in the day starts to pop up some more storms. This is 5 o'clock, and even into Friday evening brings another wave of rainfall into Metro Baton Rouge. I show you this model because it did a pretty good job in capturing the pattern today, so we want to pay attention to what it's showing for tomorrow. And by Saturday morning, has the storm slipping down to our south. Now, we're not talking necessarily a repeat of what we had this morning, but the model trends this afternoon, at least a little bit concerning. We've now got a pretty good cluster of rain totals between 1 and 2 inches just for tomorrow. And look at what that model I just showed you is doing. It's dumping another 5 to 6 inches. It's an outlier, but that means we still need to pay attention. It's a little bit of a red flag. I'm not expecting widespread totals that high, but let's not let our guard down. Some locally heavy rain could be in the mix once again tomorrow. We do have another threat of severe weather. I'm not expecting widespread severe storms on Friday, but if we get that squall line, watch out for some damaging winds in the morning. Right now, it's a marginal risk of severe weather that's posted from the Storm Prediction Center. Now, as we look at these rain totals, this is estimated rainfall over the last 24 hours. The numbers are high, to be sure. The orange is 5 inches plus, and the red is 6 inches or more, so some pockets of that. Those are big rain numbers. They're not off the charts. What really set this morning apart was the intensity of the rainfall. We've got evidence of that looking at a USGS rain gauge. This is Clay Cut Bayou at Antioch Road here in Baton Rouge. Check it out. From 8 a.m. to 9:30 picked up nearly 6 inches of rainfall. When you get rain coming down that hard, that fast, it's just hard to drain it off, and that's the problem we had this morning. So as storms move off to the east, we now keep an eye to our northwest and our west tonight, and that's what we'll be paying close attention to. Jeff Morrow's going to be here in the morning to get you through the morning if we do get another round of storms going, so we'll keep you updated on that. Regardless of the timing, good rain chances do return tomorrow. By Saturday, it's closer to a typical summertime day, scattered mainly afternoon storms, and finally, Sunday into next week, we finally start to dry it out. Daily rain chances 20% or less next week. It gets less humid. Could see some mornings down the 60s, highs to the upper 80s. So we largely just need to get through the next day or two before things improve. Greg, Liz, back to you.
All right, Steve, thank you. If you've got your WAFB app or your phone with you, you just got this alert from us. Famous and legendary blues well, pretty much a legend, Dr. John has passed away. His family confirms he died of a heart attack. Dr. John, of course, known in the New Orleans music circles, but really known all around the world for so many different things. He blended so many types of music together. He died of a heart attack, according to his family. He was 77 years old. We'll be right back. Here's another look at that incredible video shared with us today. And Liz and I were just talking about how it just sucks everything in. This is in Convent, and what looks to be a tornado going right there across the road, even across the levee. And
this was an area hit not that long ago by another tornado. Rilwan Balogan from our newsroom in New Orleans got a first-hand look at the damage left behind.
The strength of this storm here mangled this fence here all the way down to the back of the yard here, along with the fence here. This tree in front of this home completely snapped in half, blocking their driveway.
Well, we had this tree, and it's just a straight line back. All the trees and everything. My garden is totally decimated.
The storm ripped through Johnny Rouvier's Convent's backyard, bringing down power lines. Before the storm, he says he heard his phone go off, and then he says he heard a loud rumble.
My wife was walking out of the bedroom, and I said, get back, get in that bathroom. We got in the bathroom.
They waited for what he says felt like 20 minutes.
We were lucky. Passed right in between the two houses. Very little damage actually to the home.
Further back in his yard, his neighbor's farm shed was destroyed. Sheriff Willie Martin says this is the third time a storm like this has moved through the area in as many years.
And I can recall for years not experiencing tornadoes in St. James Parish. We have our share, like everyone, bad weather events, but it just seems we're seeing more and more tornadic activity that starting to become concerning.
Martin says there was minor damage reported throughout the parish, mostly down trees.
We had a weather event that did some damage, and now we just doing damage assessments, and we are waiting for power to be restored.
Now here is the good news. The St. James Sheriff says as of now there have been no reports of injuries. We'll be right back. New tonight, this is brand new surveillance video from that storm that hit near Central this morning. Man, look at that.
I know, it's unbelievable just how fast a storm can move through, and what we believe is a possible tornado touchdown there. Steve was commenting on it's a relatively small one, but you saw the damage and what it did.
Yeah, we've seen some of these small ones do significant damage. One came through Baton Rouge out around, it was Harrell's Ferry in Sherwood a couple of years ago. That flipped a car. I think it was a firefighter inside. It was real small when you saw the video, but intense.
So at 6, we're going to talk with that family who basically had to hunker down, and they are safe tonight. We'll hear from them at 6.
Keeping you informed anytime, anywhere, on every screen. This is WAFB, Louisiana's news channel.